we will be publishing a central scenario. And just to tell you what we mean by a central scenario is going to look a lot like a forecast, but reflecting the fact that there is unprecedented levels of uncertainty, particularly around the evolution of the virus itself. We're calling it a central scenario to really underline that there's an unusual amount of uncertainty around it. With respect to the government's update, that will certainly be helpful. The government has already been very transparent on its spending with respect to the various emergency response measures it's taken to support households, to support businesses, to defer tax collections, to provide lending. And certainly those spending plans will be an important input into our outlook.
Next question is from
Just
Kim.
to follow up.
Sorry, Kevin, we don't have time for follow-up. If we have time, we'll come back to you. I've got to move on to Kim McCrail of Wall Street Journal is next.
Hi, thank you, Governor. You referred in this speech to the bank's asset purchase programs as becoming a source of monetary stimulus. Can you talk about when those shifted from easing strains in financial markets to providing stimulus, and how effective is quantitative easing in providing stimulus to the economy right now?
So the asset purchase programs were launched in a period when there were severe strains in funding markets, and their immediate goal, the imperative of central bank, is to provide the liquidity that is needed to keep credit flowing. And that was really through March and April. As we've seen, as we've got into May and certainly now into June, we have seen a substantial improvement in market functioning. So some of our shorter term programs, BA program, for example, you're seeing us scale back that program. The repos are starting to roll off. At the same time, we have committed to continue buying Government of Canada bonds at a pace of at least $5 billion a week. And particularly with the improvements we've seen in funding markets and with the economy beginning to reopen, that will be an important source of stimulus. That is quantitative easing. That'll be an important source of stimulus. We've lowered the policy rate to the effective lower bound of 25 basis points at the short end, and the large-scale asset purchases are contributing to keeping interest rates low across the Government of Canada curve, and that is getting passed on to households and businesses. There is a considerable amount of monetary stimulus in place. If you look at more 5-year variable rate mortgages down about 80 basis points, prime rate down about 150 basis points. Rates across the government curve are at or very near historic lows. And if you look at real interest rates, by which I mean the nominal rate less expected inflation, those are negative across the entire curve.
Thank you. The next question is from Dave Parkinson, and he'll be followed by Shelley Hagan of Bloomberg and Kelsey Johnson of Reuters.
Good afternoon, Governor. Turned it afternoon while I was working. Just wanted to follow up on Kim's question a little bit. When you talk about those QE and CE functions of those bond programs, shifting to more of a monetary stimulus role, I'm wondering if you foresee that the bank will have to adjust those programs, rework them in some way to more specifically serve a monetary stimulus purpose as opposed to their initial market functioning purpose, if we are going to need to see a reworking, even an expansion of those programs in order to serve that new role more directly?
I think what I would stress is that while these programs were initiated to restore market functioning, as that has progressed and has as that market functioning has been restored, increasingly, particularly the large-scale asset purchases, are providing monetary stimulus. We certainly have options going forward. We can scale those programs. We've seen central banks around the world try other things, yield curve control, forward guidance. These things are all in our toolkit. What I can tell you is that, going forward, the types of measures we take will depend on the circumstances. Different measures have different effectiveness in different circumstances, and they will be guided by the achievement of our inflation target. We'll be flexible, we'll be resolute, we're going to be innovative, and we're going to be determined.
Thank you. Just before we go to the next question, for those reporters who were late in joining the call, if you have a question, let us know by sending an email to communications@bankofcanada.ca and we'll put you in the queue. Pour les journalistes qui se sont joints à l'appel avec un peu de...
For journalists who are joining the call late, please send a short email to the email address specified if you wish to ask a question, and your name will be added to the list.
From Shelley.
Hi, Governor. This is Shelley Hagan with Bloomberg News.
Hi, Shelley.
When the time does come to remove emergency stimulus, do you anticipate you'll reduce your balance sheet first before raising rates?
Look, we have all the tools we need to exit. But exit is a long way off. We're at the very beginning of recovery from an unprecedented drop in GDP. We expect in the immediate coming months, we do expect to see some pretty good growth numbers, both jobs and GDP. But we do expect that, following this initial reopening phase, there will be a slower, longer recuperation phase.